She is
Oh my
wonderful.
goodness.
I'm glad it worked out. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for being patient.
Glad it worked out. I am going to introduce you, and then we're gonna get into it. I'm super excited to be welcoming our guest today, Brazilian beach volleyball player Priscilla Lima, who
Former beach
played.
volleyball player.
I think people are still beach volleyball players at heart, isn't it?
For sure.
You played volleyball for Brazil, multiple leagues across the United States, including the AVP and the NVL, and won the Most Improved Player award in 2009 in the AVP and the Crowd Pleaser award in 2015 and 2016. I'm super excited. I want to get to the bottom of this.
Oh,
And you're currently focused on coaching, and you're the founder of Optimum Beach and Rage for Mastery. Welcome to the SPRTER Podcast.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
I also want to mention your experience store that's set up on the SPRTER app, where people can request wide range of experiences from you, working with you on a one-on-one training, any sort of game film review and training plans, any of that. So head over to the SPRTER app, check out Priscilla's profile and learn more and get to connect with her. So let's get to the bottom of this. Welcome to the show.
All right.
Walk me through how you started. I learned that you started playing when you were 15, which, how did that come about, and when did you realize that, hey, I'm actually really good at this?
Well, it took a while to realize that I could be good at it, but I used to, and I'm from Brazil, so I used to dance before playing volleyball, and then I started playing volleyball in the streets with my friends, and then I got a tryout at this club, and I really loved it, and I was like, I love the sport. I quit dancing, which was my full-time sport, and then I ended up making to one of the best indoor volleyball clubs in Brazil, in Rio. So I got really lucky because the 15's national team coach was our coach. We had two of their middle blockers. We had the setters. So I was playing with the Lions, and the game was so fast, so I got to watch a lot. Thankfully, I think being a dancer got me in tune with my body and coordination. So the game is kind of like a dance to me. So I was able to kind of put it together. And that year I only played one set and one match, because they were so awesome. So when we played the worst team, they let me play pretty much. But then the next year, they kind of let me go because they have four middles and I was the fifth middle. So it's understandable. I ended up going to another club. But training and being around those players were so crucial that the next team I went to, I was already a starter.
That's awesome. And what made you fall in love with the sport? Because you said, it was immediately. But what are the elements that made you like, hey, this is awesome?
I think I love challenge. So I felt really challenged. And then that was my first team experience. And I think I fell in love with that. And my coaches were really, really good people. But I guess looking back right now, they kind of reminded me of my grandpa. Really hard on us, but very funny at the same time. And so it felt comfortable being in that scenario. But yeah. And then a year later, in 2016, I started playing beach. Training beach and then I was like, I love this. And at that time I still was torn. So I played indoors until going to college. When I came to United States at Louisiana Lafayette, go Cajuns. They didn't have beach volleyball at that time because I'm too old. But I always played beach, in the off season, and I would go play tournaments. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, you're kind of good at this. You should go to the AVP. And I'm like, what is the AVP? I didn't know about the AVP. And she goes, no, you need to go. Let's go play a tournament because people need to see you. And I didn't know that people were saying I was good. I just played as hard as I could. So by the time we got to the AVP, I was like, whoa, I want to do this. That's what I want to do. I really want to play professionally.
And I want to get into the AVP in a second, but transitioning from that indoor to the beach, what is the main difference for you, and what is it about beach that you like so much?
Okay, so I feel like I didn't transition because I started in 2015 indoors. In 2016, I was doing both. So from there until I went to college, and through college, I've always done both. So to me, it was just like, oh, I'm playing, these two sports. I was able to manage them. But, as a coach and also as a player that I can relate is, indoors fast paced. I think eye work and reaction is more important. You have your teammates and all that, where beach is very planned out. You have to, it's you and nobody else. There are no subs. So if you suck until the end. Nobody can get you out, or you have to walk out and quit, so you're going to figure out who's a quitter. A lot of finesse, but a lot of power. It was more challenging. Me being a ball hog, I touch more balls rather than, depending on 5 other teammates. So the experience on both sides are really awesome, but I definitely loved beach a lot more than indoors.
Okay. That's a really insightful point in terms of, okay, well, I can't rely on other people. It's really me, it's my partner. And you talk about quitting. Have you ever thought about, when are some of those, we're going to talk about the highs, but let's start with some of the lows. As in, have you thought about quitting, and what was the thought process, and what convinced you to, hey, I'm not going to quit, I'm going to see this through?
Yeah. Well, when I was in my second year of indoors, I was with a coach that she was extremely unfair, and she was punishing us a lot. And I've always had this fairness to me has always been important since as a kid. And now I can look back and say that. So I did quit that team because it became unhealthy, but it kind of like catapulted me to the beach game. I ended up playing more beach that year. And then the next year I got called to go play at another club, and I went back. At that time, I chose mental health over, my passion. And thankfully, I found even more beach volleyball. But yeah, there are other times like during the pro, and I feel like a lot of the nowadays pros, especially in America, feel that way because there are only 3 tournaments a year. It's like, why am I doing this? Should I continue? And your why or your passion needs to speak so loud at those times so you don't quit. Because being a full-time professional athlete, it's already hard, even though you have where to go, where to play. Like I was playing over 30 tournaments, professional tournaments a year. My players play 3. It's so different. And even through 30, there are a lot of moments like, am I good enough? Or like, what do I need to do better? Like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Or am I going to afford this? But your why and your passion just keeps pushing, and it pulls through all those bad times if you just keep your head in the game and forward. Like, I can do this, there's a way to fix it, look for help, and now it's not just like coaching help. Nowadays mental health is really important, more than ever, right? So I think it's really important for everybody to figure it out who is your inner circle and create a team of mentors and or professionals that can help you and around your full game.
I totally agree, and in particular mental health. I think we've seen it with the Olympics, right? Simone Biles raising it. I think there's quite a few athletes that have raised awareness around it, and I think it's always been important, but society has just never really paid attention to it. And I think what you started to touch on is some of those strategies, as in how do you prioritize, and you talked about following your passion, and even if quitting a team, is that if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So I think those are really good takeaways for some of our listeners as well. But you've also talked about some other strategies in terms of a mentor. And how else do you go about prioritizing mental health and making sure that as an athlete, you're not just fully trained and you're physically ready, but you're also mentally ready to tackle the game? How's that?
Yeah.
What do you do?
As a professional athlete, you need to tackle everything, right? So you have to invest in time into mental health, which is reading books, podcasts, calling somebody, nowadays it's so easy. People can reach out on social media, ask us a question, ask whoever a question, be like, you've been where I want to be, or you are in my shoes. How can you help me? And the greatest thing about the younger generation, they're so much more willing to help, even if they don't know people. Where before we didn't have this, we didn't have emails, we didn't have, so there's all of this contacts of like, I can reach out to anybody. It was really hard. So I think nowadays there's more help than you think. So, but you have to be proactive about finding those things. And one thing that keeps everybody afloat is hope. You can't lose hope. Hope that you can do it. Hope, like for anything, that things are going to get better, that you're going to get better. Believe in yourself. That type of hope really can keep you in the game and keep you in the profession and in whatever you do in life.
And I think that goes back to the passion as well, as in and that why that you touched on. Why am I doing this? Like, this is giving me fun. This is pleasure. This is amazing. And we all love, most of us love physical activity and finding that flow state, and that's something, and that combined with that hope, and as you're absolutely right in terms of the ability to reach out to people and seek some support and connecting with those who've been in the shoes, who've done exactly what people are trying to achieve. I think that's really, really important. Maybe also a sneaky way for me to plug the SPRTER app again here in the experience store and your store on the app as well. I think that's certainly something, those experiences and seeking and reaching out is certainly something to help. And you're absolutely right. Athletes and sporters and the younger generation, there's a lot of support system around how can you succeed. And I think we're really professionalizing the field right now, which is amazing. When you grew up, who were your role models? Who would you have wanted to reach out to when you would have struggled? Or who are the people that you looked up and were like, hey, I want to be in your shoes. This is what you're doing is awesome.
It's funny because when I tell my story or, situations like this, I feel like I've been so blessed because let's say I was in Brazil, my idol was a middle blocker from Brazil. And then when I started playing beach, the national team used to train at the same facility. And then all of a sudden I see myself working out side by side, with her. And it was like, not a lot of people were allowed in there. We knew somebody who knew somebody, and I would go and watch their practices and shag balls for them, like total fan crush and all that. So all of a sudden she's like, hey, Priscilla, how you doing? She learned my name. And, and then like within 3 months, I remember one day I was upset, I was a teenager, I had a fight with my grandma, and she's like, are you okay? I was like, oh, I had a fight with my grandma. It's been really tough. And she started like talking to me and telling me how to feel better. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, is Ida really telling me these things? Like, I just had that moment. I had to stop her from talking. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, you're my idol. Like, you're my idol, and you're being my friend. You're taking care of me or being just nice to me. And then, and then I started playing beach. I started playing beach professionally in America. Then all of a sudden I'm at the tournaments, and I meet a lot of people. Obviously I'm looking up to Misty May, Carrie, Holly McPeak, but I knew that Holly knew a lot of my friends from Brazil that played on the world tour. So I went to say hi, whatever, so that was cool. But then all of a sudden it kind of like opened up a door that I've always been a go-getter. So I was like, hey, Holly, can you come watch me play? Come watch me. Do you have any feedback? You should have a feedback. And then the other day we're both, Misty May and I was counting the same match. And she goes, who do you play? It's like, whoever you don't play, because why you're here, right? So we're like just laughing. And we started talking about life. And she gave me the greatest advice I've ever had. And I live up to it, is unconditional love is the most important thing you need in your life. So just keep the people who loves you unconditionally near you, and the other ones don't matter.
That's awesome advice.
And you feel stronger within yourself. Sorry, my puppy's my bark. And you will feel stronger within yourself. You will rebuild yourself. I was going through a really tough breakup, and she said, you will know that people love you no matter what. And that for me has been something that I tell my players, all my players. I tell them that. I was like, that was the best advice I've ever had.
And I mean, you can't argue that statement. I totally agree. And speaking of your puppy now, I think that's what we get from dogs, that unconditional love.
For sure.
So, and obviously not just from dogs, but this is awesome. We love puppies here at SPRTER.
Yeah. But to answer your question, I've been very fortunate to have my idols like on call or in person, which I never planned that to happen. I just realized that all of a sudden I looked to the side and here's a Misty May. There was, the middle blocker. Then I met the other middle blocker that I used to love, that I love her still, that she used to play for America, Danielle Scott. And I ended up playing a beach volleyball tournament with her. My life has been so blessed and so crazy. I got to travel with Misty and coach clinics with her and play a fun tournament with her and spend time with her, Carrie, whoever, Holly. I've been extremely blessed in terms of meeting all my idols.
And I think that's what you already alluded to in terms of now you passing that on, you telling your students, your players, you're telling them, you're passing on that knowledge, and which is awesome. And I think that leadership is great. In terms of leadership, have you ever, like, how's it play out on the field? As in one taking the lead, the other person following, or how's that going? And is that basically, is that a reflection of those who are off the field, who are leaders off the field? Are they also the leaders on the field?
Well, I think you can always lead by, there are many types of leadership. You can lead by example. You can be a communicator, leader in communication, service acts, right? So everybody has a good strength. And it's really funny because I just sent a survey for all my players, my entire club, to take a character strength survey. So we get to know their strengths, to get to know each other better. So there are many types of leaders. Usually in a team for beach volleyball, depending where you are in your career, whatever, but usually you grow with a partner. If you're growing with a partner, you take turns leading, but you're pretty much helping each other. But let's say if you would have seen me in the beginning of my career, was me and my partner at that time, Angela Lewis. We always helped each other. We're both young. Whatever we see, we share. Then I got picked up by a veteran, so she led more game plan and preparation, and I really maybe the emotional, because I was always super like high energy and whatever, and and she tend to maybe be like, no, don't be so serious, like you need to enjoy this, type of thing. And then if you caught me in the last 5 to 10 years of my career, I was probably always the mentor, right? So I'm playing with the younger players. So it's like, we got to do this and this, so this happens and we can do this, so. But I've always tried to look to my partners and be like, but what do you think about that, and then let them take, but always telling them, no matter how much I know, maybe I'm guiding the game, you need to yell at me and tell me, go get that ball. Don't let me slack, because that's even in the team. Both teams need to, both players need to hold their standards as players.
And I totally agree. In terms of holding each other accountable is super important in any sort of team setting. But obviously, if there's only two in a team, then for sure it makes a big difference. Talk me through that 2015, 2016 crowd pleaser award. Like, winning it once, it's like, okay, well, maybe you had an awesome season, you did something special, but no. Winning it twice, there's got to be some secret sauce involved. So talk to us about the secret sauce.
Just whoever follows beach volleyball, and if you see Brazilian plays, it's just different. We just play different. We love the game. We play with the crowd, like we talk, we have jokes, we're very intense. Like we go through all the emotions, but we're there playing the same game. So I think, I've always been like that. I've always joked with everybody, throw a ball to the little people, to the kids, or throw a ball to adults, get it back. I was in Vancouver, I was throwing balls to the crowd, and they would throw back before it would serve, and then I missed a serve. I was like, you're never getting a ball again from me, like just playing with people left and right, making jokes about my partner or joking across the net. I remember I was playing one of my last ones. I was playing the AVP in Hermosa, and I made a move, a girl hit, and I dug with my chest. We continued the play. And then, at the end of the play, I was like, look, Ma, no hands, just little things like that we just, I don't know. I don't even think about it. It just comes out. That's how I watch my idols playing and feeling the game, I was watching AVP this past weekend, and you see Larissa playing, and Lily and Ricardo and Maria. Is a different way of playing the game with the game,
and sharing and showing a little bit of your own personal attitude and
yeah.
personality. Attitude has that negative connotation, but I think it
But
can have a really positive connotation. That your personality and really playing that, bringing it out. And I mean, it worked. That's pretty awesome. As I said, there's got to be some secret sauce, and that personality seems to be the case.
Yeah, sure.
And we have a segment that we call Pro Advice. And in Pro Advice, we reach out to our followers and ask for submissions where they can ask you anything. So I am going to ask you, we have 2 submissions here. First submission reads, I had a poor performance in my last outing. How do I bounce back and regain my confidence?
Okay, so one poor performance does not define you. Your struggles at practice and overcomes at practice gives you experience, even if you haven't played a game yet. So just know that if you're preparing well, you got to trust your process, the things you've done. So when my players are having a hard time, I always try to bring them back to practice during the game. I was like, hey, remember that drill? We did this and this. You can do it. Because then all of a sudden the mind goes back to, oh, yeah, I can do it. And hopefully translates into game time, let's fix this. But again, you can't keep focusing also on the problem. You got to find the new solution. You are not that performance, good or bad. Every day you got to show up. Every day you got to enter that match, no matter how easy it could be or how hard it could be. And be like, I'm going to show up the best I can today. And then trust that what you've worked on or what you learned is within you and is going to come up.
That's awesome. That was Coach Priscilla right there. And I like that you added it's not just a bad performance. Like, don't even, like, good performance doesn't matter. You need to disassociate from that and really work on just coming back, bouncing back, and you'll be fine. So that's awesome. Second submission reads, I'm nervous about being in a leadership role on my team, and I don't think I can lead my teammates effectively. How do I handle this?
Well, one of the keys to leadership is developing relationships. You can't lead people you don't know, right? I think you would lead, people will follow you better if they also get to know you. So you need to be in a position where you're more vulnerable, but not only getting to know them, but also showing them who you are, your values, what you stand for, and your reasons, right? So one shift on, like, in generations, so that's how old I am. The shift in generations is that the younger generation, they need to know why. Why are we doing this? Where my generation is like, my coach would be like, we got to do this. Okay. Like, there's no why. But if you take the time to explain why, and then maybe tell them a story, how you learned this or what, it's almost like, yeah, no problem. Like, and it's worth the time of investing the time. Like, you want to invest time in getting to know people, but they also have to know you. Like, I talked to some of my kids that have gone, I was like, how can I do better that you guys understand that I'm not just like this, like, hard ass coach that is always on top of you guys, that I also have emotions, and I try to show you guys and show you where I fail, and here's the solution, because they don't see it, right? So I was like, I really try to make myself vulnerable to them, so they see, like, I've struggled, but I've overcome, and here are the solutions I found that I want you to find. So, and it takes time. I haven't led everybody, you know what I mean? Like, I have 40 players within many different groups. I don't get to lead all of them at the same time the way I want, but I invest in those relationships little by little, and then all of a sudden they start coming together, and then we move together as a group. But you have to spend that time with them.
I love that quote, that the basis for leadership is relationships. I love that. I think you're absolutely spot on there. It makes so much sense, as in building relationships, and then people will be much more open to be led, and that why makes sense, as in being a lot of that foundation. That's great. We have one more segment, and then I want to get into some of your entrepreneurial aspects. Breaking the rules. I'm asking you to change one rule that would make beach volleyball better. And better can be anything, however you want to define it.
You didn't prepare me for that. Now I need to think about it. A rule that can make beach volleyball. I'm in a blind relationship with volleyball. I just love it the way it is. I don't know. I can't, oh my gosh, I can't think about it.
Like a handicap. I'm always thinking like, oh yeah. Well,
the AVP, I don't know if everybody knows, especially because you guys are in Europe. The AVP has a rule for match point only. So you play like in the Olympics all the way at the end. And then from match point, they freeze the score. And now you have to serve, dig, and kill to get your point, which is the old side out rules. So you can only finish the game if you serve 4-point.
Okay.
That, as a player in the beginning, I was like, this is going to be, oh my gosh, I don't know. Because it changed, right? Nobody likes change. But the first tournament I played that game, that with the freeze, I was like, it made the game interesting, because if I'm winning 20-16 and they're serving, they serve and they get a point, 2017. They serve, they get a point, 2018. I serve and I don't get a point, nothing happens. They serve, they get a point, 2019. Like, all of a sudden, there's a little chance, instead of them serving and get a point, 21-16, done. You know? So it kind of made the game interesting, and it would give chances for more people to come back. And we've been seeing like awesome comebacks or extreme long freezes. I think I played one with like 49 serves into the freeze. So 49 serves between both of us. It made the game kind of like interesting. I don't know if other players like it, how they feel about it, but now that I'm just like watching from the sidelines, it's like, you know what? There's always time for somebody to come back. And that kind of like evens out the field, and it's nice to see that.
I love that rule. That's the gold we're digging for in the Breaking the Rules segment. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really exciting rule, and just increasing that excitement, giving people a chance to come back when they're a little bit down. But then I think that's a phenomenal rule change. Yes. Perfect.
And it's time. Like, when I started playing volleyball, it was like that. It was side out. You have to serve and you have to play defense and put the ball down for a point, where nowadays it's rally score. So anything is a point.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let me transition off a little bit from the sport to the sport, but the entrepreneurial side behind the sport. You're the founder of a company called Optimum Beach, and tell me a little bit more about Optimum Beach.
So Optimum Beach is pretty much a service for beach volleyball training. Over here we call club youth sports. One is juniors, but I have from 6-year-old to professionals and international teams that come and train with us, get ready, like training camps, preseason training camps, or prior to a big competition. They want to, either because obviously the weather is great in Florida, and they come and train with us. And we train all year round in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I've always been kind of type of like a coach player my whole life, because I love the game so much that I was able to kind of like, I was a full-time player and a coach, and then now I'm here. I'm a full-time coach and I don't play anymore. I may play some tournaments over here at home in Florida, but I am done professionally for sure. And it's been really cool, because this was my first summer that I was a full-time coach, and then just to sit back and watch my players, my juniors, my high school ages 15 through 18, they just like excelling. For me is excelling mentally and emotionally, growing to the person they need to be to play their volleyball, and see their results coming too. It was really, really cool. And then this has been now a year that we have other locations. So now I'm in Florida, and I have an Optimum Beach, kind of like a satellite in New York, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
Wow, you are growing. That sounds like very fast growth, which shows you have the right approach to it as well.
Yeah, the goal is that coaching the coaches more than the kids. The kids get to see me and I go in through a clinic, but my coaches are mentored by me. They see my drills. They see how we talk, our methodology, how we talk about the game, and we do mindset sessions with the kids, but coaches need to be involved in. So they are also held to the same standards.
Okay, that's awesome. Congratulations on that growth. That's exciting to hear. You also have founded another company, Rage for Mastery. What is it? How did it come about? And what do you do there?
Okay, so Rage for Mastery came about. I wanted to say thank you to the coaches who helped me throughout my career. And coaches' lives are very hard. My coach, especially like the coaches that coach me, they coach international teams or professional teams, and you go to a country and then you have a 4-year contract or a 2-year contract. And then what? You move your families where, or you don't have a team, and it's really hard. And they work so hard to like give you success. They invest. And I know, because I am this type of a coach too. And I invest a lot of my time for my players' success. And I wanted to say thank you. So I wanted to create Zoom calls with those coaches because they've been on the FIVB tour coaching for over 10 years, 15, 20 years. They have some are Olympic coaches. So I really wanted to give them something back where we do a Zoom call, they make, $500, $300. So it's just extra income. So that was the way that I could help them while helping grow the sport that I love. And then hopefully later on, we're going to have also courses, like, online courses that people will be able to purchase.
That's awesome. So it seems like a win-win situation there, and obviously ties in with a lot of the other aspects that you do, and so it makes a lot of sense. So we've got to make sure that to check that out as well. I'm cognizant of your time. I don't like to let you go because I have so many more questions, but I also want to be cognizant of your time. I really appreciate you joining us at the SPRTER Podcast and taking the time to really share some amazing insights. I think our listeners are getting a lot of value from that. And I also want to shout out again, you have your experience store set up on the SPRTER app. A lot of experience that you could share, a lot of training advice, all of those aspects. So head over, follow Priscilla there, and make sure to follow her on Instagram, PriLima13, Twitter, PriLima Beach Pro, and check out her webpage, prilima.com. And have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us on the SPRTER Podcast.
Thank you so much. You guys are doing a great thing to help athletes and also entrepreneurs, giving people opportunities to be seen and also get work or get paid. So I try to share as much as I can. I see you guys. So I've been, with you guys since almost the beginning. So I really appreciate anybody who wants to grow and help athletes. Like, I'm there. I'll support you that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that feedback. I really appreciate that because that's exactly what we're here for. We're trying to help athletes, particularly those that don't have the multi-million-dollar contracts, the LeBron Jameses of this. Like, we were really there for those athletes that we can support. And we have some really exciting updates later on to share this week. I'm going to prime this now, but there's going to be some signed pictures that we are integrating in the app. So it's pretty exciting updates that we're working on as well. So I think there's more and more opportunities that we want to support athletes to really increase their revenue streams and connect with fans in a different way and really more on a very personal way. So super excited. Thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that insight. It's really nice to hear from the athlete perspective.
For sure.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much and enjoy the week.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.